As part of Hullabaloo weekend, welcome to my Wildlife Mile. I'm Dave Fairlamb of Natural Links, and this morning we're going to be walking, starting off here at Bembridge Harbour. As you can see behind me, we're going to be doing about a mile walk, take us along the edge of Brading Marshes RSPB Reserve, along towards Bembridge Pools. And because it's a good season for the birds, it's the breeding season now, we're going to be concentrating on bird songs and calls, and we may catch some footage of birds in action as well, and maybe some other things. So let's start off and see what we can see. And straight away down in the harbour we have a little egret looking for food in amongst the rock pools, amongst the rocks here. Striking white heron, and they actually breed on the Isle of Wight now. A relative newcomer to Britain. Didn't really see them around till the late 80s, and they started breeding in 1996. First site was the Brownsea Island in Dorset. You can see this has its breeding plumes on the back of the head, and just catching the beautiful bright yellow feet, which is a good identifier for this species. And a couple of black-headed gulls flying in. Oh, flying off again. Very interesting that black-headed gulls actually don't have a black head. They have a brown head in their breeding plumage. And out on the open water, some mallards coming in quite close actually, along by the path. Males and females. The males on the right hand side, although they're looking a bit more like the females at the moment because they're in moult. It's called eclipse plumage, and they need to be a little bit more camouflaged because they are flightless for a time. So we just come away from the harbour. We're going to take a little shortcut. This goes through Bembridge Marina. We're going to be crossing over the bridge here on the River Yar. We'll get some close-ups of the river shortly. So we're crossing over the bridge now. Obviously quite a few mallards still around, and it's nice how we can hear house sparrows. Lovely chirrup sound in the hedge behind us. Quite a few flats and houses around the marina area, and quite a few of the house sparrows will be nesting in under the eaves of the houses. So we're looking down the River Yar, and of course there's two River Yars on the Isle of Wight. This is the Eastern River Yar, and we're standing on the embankment road. You can hear the car noises, and we're at the main sluice, and this controls the levels across Brading Marshes. It's under Environment Agency. And you can start to see the expanses of Brading Marshes RSPB Reserve, which is a huge area of lowland wet grassland and meadows, quite extensive reed beds, and does have areas of woodland around the edges, and has been a nature reserve since 2001, so it's nearly coming up for its 20th birthday. Oh, and we've just heard a Chetty's warbler there. That sudden burst of song. It's quite a skulking warbler, and I hope that we will hear them at closer quarters once we get onto the main track along the marsh edge. So we're just about 25 metres along from the sluice on the road, and this is the entrance down to the old railway path. and it takes us right alongside the marshes. We're just onto the old railway path now, and all the way along there's some really good vantage points to overlook the marsh. This is one of them, and we're just going to pop down this little path here which overlooks one of the main pool areas. Can you hear that? We're on now. So we're down at one of the vantage points, and actually just off to the left, in amongst the reeds, is a reed warbler singing. Start up again. There it is, starting up again. It has a slow rhythm. It's supposed to be saying lots of zigs and zags. Just looking up at some dog rose here, one of the wild roses that we see in our hedgerows. And it was so called dog rose because it was thought that parts of the plant, particularly the root I think, could cure the bite from a wild dog. Not really quite sure about that legend, but it still retains the name dog rose to this day. These scrubby areas with lots of undergrowth are excellent areas for a variety of birds. There were several different bird songs in that last clip. We had the distant rapid rattle of a lesser whitethroat, the fluting notes of the blackcap, a quick babble of the dunnock, the rippling sound of the robin, and last but certainly not least, the loud outburst of the Chetty's warbler. We're about halfway along the main track now, and there's a really good vantage point here to overlook the expanses of the marshes, particularly this grassland area here. There's another Chetty's warbler, brief bit of song there. For me it always sounds like it's singing, I want a cup of tea, I want a cup of tea. Good way to remember Chetty's warbler's song. And all along the sides of the tracks, fantastic for wildflowers. Red clover, hawkweeds here, white clover. Excellent for a whole variety of pollinating insects. Oh, and a blue-tailed damselfly. Wings folded, the typical posture of a damselfly. And some of the other insects that we've seen today. This is a swollen-thighed beetle and a large skipper butterfly. We're now down at Bembridge Lagoons and little egret again. We can also hear common moorhen, alarm call I think that is, maybe have some young hidden away in the reeds. Oh, a little egret just fly past there. And just behind us a reed warbler singing, because we're right beside the lagoons here and the reed bed. That was a wren we just heard singing, a small bird with a big voice. Convenient seat down towards the end of the track, overlooking some of the larger pools. In the distance we can see a couple of mute swans there, and reed warbler singing alongside us as well. Well, as you can probably tell, we're back across the road now opposite the pools at the harbour, and we've got some oyster catchers with that wonderfully noisy peeping call that they have, trying to compete against the traffic behind us. A few convenient benches towards the harbour, and watch birds flying past, like this cormorant here heading off towards the marshes. And back to the marshes for the highlight of the walk, a singing marsh warbler, a rare bird for Britain. Only a handful of pairs breed every year. We're not sure if this bird will stay to breed, but it's wonderful that it's here. Well, that brings us to the end of my wildlife mile. Thanks for joining me. We're so lucky on this island to have so many wonderful wildlife walks, and happy hullabaloo.